Welcome back to Pass the Mic, Messages in Cinema, and I'm your host, Dee. Today, as promised, I'll be going over the first few episodes of The Walking Dead. Give me some highlights and some key points that I took from these episodes. So let's start with episode 1. This episode introduces Sheriff's Deputy Rick Grimes as the main character. It shows Rick and his partner and best friend Shane getting into a shootout with some crooks. Rick is then badly wounded in the shootout and falls into a coma. When he wakes up, he finds himself alone in an abandoned hospital, still attached to all of the wires, but completely alone. As he begins trying to find his way out of this hospital, he finds the world has been completely overrun by zombies, or what he'll come to know as walkers, and society has completely collapsed as he knows it. After close encounters with these walkers, Rick is rescued by survivor Morgan and his son Dwayne, and they explain the outbreak to him and the survival skills he'll quickly need to adapt to. Can you imagine waking up to a living nightmare? I bet he almost wished he had died in that hospital because his struggles were technically just about to begin. Not only did Rick have to fight through the physical pain and shock, he also had to find out that his wife, Lori, and his son, Carl, had disappeared too. That in itself had to be enough to make him want to give up. But Rick is determined. He's determined to find them. One thing I can tell you I love about his character, Rick's character, he has resilience. Instead of giving up, he finds hope and makes himself believe his family is still out there, somewhere, alive, and waiting for him. And with this hope, he leaves Morgan and his son and heads towards Atlanta. Now, I believe he heads towards Atlanta because he believes it's a bigger city and it's a safe zone. And when he arrives, he quickly is overwhelmed by walkers and becomes trapped inside of a tank. So this leads into episode 2. And this episode is entitled Guts. You'll see why. Rick is rescued by Glenn, who, prior to the apocalypse, was a pizza delivery guy, and also a survivor in a group hiding in the department store in Atlanta, waiting for their chance to escape. But they are also surrounded by walkers. Among them are Andrea, T-Dog, Meryl, and some others. Meryl, who's a violent racist, causes trouble, which leads T-Dog, a young black guy, to handcuff him to a rooftop pipe. The group needs to escape, but walkers surround the building. Rick and Glenn cover themselves in walker guts to mask their scent and sneak out. The plan works until the rain washes the scent away, forcing them to flee in a truck. They leave Meryl handcuffed on the rooftop without any way to get out. Now you would think that in the face of a complete societal breakdown, that we would give up our prejudices and come together as human beings to survive. But you can't teach stupid any sense. And so because Meryl chose racial violence, his choices quickly teaches him a very hard lesson. Racism no longer exists because now walkers are against humans, and there are no more races. We all have to work together as human beings to survive against the new mortal threat. And this leads into episode 3, where Rick finally reunites with his wife Lori and his son Carl at a survivor camp outside of Atlanta. He also reunites with his partner, best friend Shane, who had been protecting Lori and Carl. Unbeknownst to Rick, Lori and Shane had started a relationship thinking Rick was dead. Meanwhile, Meryl's brother Daryl Dixon is furious when he learns Meryl was left behind on a rooftop to fend for himself. So Rick agrees to go back for him and leads a small group to rescue Meryl and find some weapons. When they reach the rooftop, they only find Meryl's severed hand. He cut his hand off to escape. Now here's my dilemma with this episode. Let me put myself in Lori's shoes. No, let me not, because it could have only been weeks, not even months, that the apocalypse began. How is Lori already in a full-fledged relationship with Rick's best friend, Shane? Just how? So these next episodes set the stage for the key characters and what is to happen in the next 2 seasons to come. So if any of this has interested you, and you have not watched The Walking Dead, I encourage you to go and watch it. You'll learn a lot just from watching it. You'll learn a lot about human behavior. You'll learn about a lot about how people act um, when they are faced with conflict, how people deal with conflict, how people act when their backs are against the wall. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. My main thought that I would like for you to talk about in the comments, if you want to, is it possible for Lori to have fallen in love with her husband's best friend in weeks' time, in a few weeks' time? Is that possible? What are your thoughts? All right. If you are not a subscriber, I encourage you to subscribe so you can get more of my content. And I'll see you guys again on the next episode of Messages in Cinema.